Vienna is romance. Vienna is royalty. Vienna is creativity. Vienna is nightlife. Vienna is one of the most attractive capitals in the world. But let's not dig ourselves too deep into the bullshit. Because in Vienna, we're all about the facts. Are you looking to expand your business? Is Vienna your first choice for taking your company to the next level? Want to find out if you're good enough?
To our industry roundtable event, Transatlantic Success Stories in the Life Science Industry. We're going to show you the life science side of Vienna, an exciting side. My name is Stefan Peikert. I'm managing partner and founder of the HP International Group. We are supporting the Vienna Business Agency here in the US in connecting, networking with life science companies, clusters, and life science players. And together with my colleague Karen Zeltner from the Vienna Business Agency, I'm welcoming you as today's host. A few technical remarks. If you have questions, just use the Zoom chat function. We're gonna dig into Vienna at a time which is exciting for the industry. We have Brexit just behind us. Obviously, we are still working ourselves out of the pandemic. So it's fascinating, but also challenging time. But it's also a time of opportunities for the life science industry, especially for the American industry, redefining the business approach to Europe, being more present than ever. So I'm really happy that we have Julia with us, Julia Rauner, head of the commercial service in Vienna. So the eyes and ears and foot on the ground for the United States business community. And she's gonna welcome you together with the Vienna Business Agency. And then later I'm gonna introduce the other panelists, and you'll see we'll have an exciting crowd which really will take you to and through Vienna today. So thank you from me, and over to you, Julia.
Thank you so much, Stefan. And a special thanks to everyone at the Vienna Business Agency, Karen, for all of your work in putting this great program together. I'm really honored to participate on behalf of the U.S. Embassy in Austria and the U.S. Commercial Service. The U.S. Commercial Service, from a U.S. company perspective, are, as Stefan well articulated, the eyes and ears for U.S. business all around the world. We're in 80 countries. I have the great pleasure of being based in Austria, where I've been for several years, and have an excellent team at the U.S. Embassy dedicated to supporting American companies expanding their business, whether it's through exporting their products or once they're in the market, gaining more market visibility. And I'm joined in this platform by our life sciences expert, Marta Haustein, who, again, we're here on the ground to support you. Congratulations for taking the initiative to joining this webinar. In this challenging time of conducting international business, I think we're all becoming quite experts at these different medium. We're also learning that there are productive elements to it. So kudos to all of you for tapping this to gain expertise from our wonderful lineup of speakers. And we look forward to actually receiving you in person over a great coffee in Vienna, hopefully not in the too distant future. I want to just briefly frame for you why it's so important for you as American companies to be looking at Austria, and why Austria is and the US business relationship is so critical. The US is really one of the most important economic points in both trade and investment for Austria. Austrians exporters hold the US as their second largest export market, just after Germany. And from an overall trading partnership, the US ranks #4 in Austria. So when you're looking at Austria, Austria is really also looking at the United States. So keep that in mind. And I would underline that life sciences is a very important element of that. In fact, here at the US Embassy, when we look at our export position in Austria, the life sciences, both pharmaceutical and medical devices, are our top export category, reaching a peak of about 25% of all of our exports in our last kind of normal year in 2019. And on the investment side, we also play a very important role. The US is the third most important investment country into Austria. Accenture recently analyzed the impact of US companies here. The top 50 US investors in Austria support 120,000 jobs and make up about 2.5% of the Austrian GDP. And in looking at Austria, US companies are incredibly welcome. You're surrounded by over 300 American companies and a very robust American Chamber of Commerce, who are close partners of the US Embassy. And throughout this program, you're going to hear directly from a great representative of both of those in our speaker from Pfizer, Rumler, who is both one of those leading American companies, as well as a leader in the American Chamber, as well as, of course, the Austrian Trade Commissioner on the ground in the United States, supporting our bilateral economic efforts. So I'll stop at that point, but just know that we're available for you at the US Embassy to support you, and I think we'll be able to engage a bit throughout this program today. So again, back to you, Stefan, and thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Julia. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for proving from an American perspective that you're really wise to spend this time with us here today. I'm just going to quickly tell you who we have gathered here today for you. It's an exciting, pretty exclusive group of small and large people here in Vienna, here in the United States. So we're going to start with Robin Rumler of Pfizer. And then we have Gloria Esposito of a slightly smaller, but not nevertheless equally exciting company, Austrianni, active in tuberculosis research and working in a long tradition of research and drug development in Vienna. Then we have all the expertise. We have Michael in New York, Michael Friedl, who is one of the Austrian trade commissioners in the United States. We have Johannes. Vienna is unique in the way that Vienna has its economic development agency, the Vienna Business Agency, which all of you will have noticed on the road to this event today. But there's the Life Science Agency, which is nurturing the industry, which is taking care of the really large community, and which is every day dealing with the companies. And Johannes is part of the leadership team there. So I'm excited to have you here. And then Karen is going to show you, if that all was not convincing enough, what kind of support Vienna, the city, which is actually also a federal state. So the federal state and city of Vienna has ready for American international companies more interested. And as much as I would like to dive straight into the matter of Vienna, the business ecosystem, the support, the opportunities, the talent pipeline, but we have Pfizer here with us. And we look back at a pretty historical year, unseen in modern history. So Robin, country manager for Pfizer here in Austria, looking back at this year, what are you making out of it? What can the life science industry here in Vienna and elsewhere learn? What can we all learn? What are the lessons you draw from it? And how can we do maybe even more efficient in the future?
Hello, Stefan, ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome as well from my side. Thank you very much for the invitation and welcome to everybody. Yes, I think we all learned a lot. But please let me start with some general remarks. So about the Austrian healthcare system, and it can be seen as one of the best in the world. We run 270 hospitals and approximately 45,000 physicians are working in Austria. 99% of our 8.8 million inhabitants are fully insured. Therefore, and not unexpectedly, our life expectancy is one of the highest in the world, and believe me, also life quality is wonderful. The pandemic, and coming to your question, has shown in an impressive manner that the Austrian healthcare system had to be adapted to crisis situations, maybe as other countries as well. And we have learned to approach each other even more quickly and work together on solutions. And we have achieved a lot, faster than ever before. For example, and today reality in Austria, and it was not reality before. So we have virtual doctor visits, we have electronic doctor's prescriptions, we have virtual vaccination documents. all is now in place and available. So in general, the digital shift and the acceleration in the digital shift is finally taking place at high speed, and this is definitely fantastic. So if you look to pharma, if you look especially to pharma, so we are seen as the branch, as you said, who will take the world out of the crisis. For sure, we do everything to fulfill that wish, especially Pfizer. I'm glad to be at Pfizer, by the way. More than 200 companies worldwide. And this is also maybe important to know. So there is a huge engagement of more than 200 companies at the moment researching on a vaccine against corona. As well, Austrian companies are also involved here. I would like to mention one example, Polymoon. It's a pioneer in producing important components for RNA vaccines, or the company Apeiron, who is working on a medication, and they're far ahead already. And I could name a lot of other companies here as well. So therefore, what I can say is that the pandemic has raised awareness for value and appreciation of medical innovations and increased the willingness to fund new therapies as well. And this is greatly supported by our pharma association. The pharma association is called PharmIC. By the way, I'm the vice president of PharmIC and former president, and I can say that this association is really unique, maybe worldwide, because 120 pharma companies representing 95% of the pharma market collaborate here under one roof very successfully. So, for example, at the moment, work on new payment models to fund gene therapy or costly oncology therapies, which will be launched within the coming months or years. So to sum up, the pandemic has served as a catalyst here in Austria as well for needed transformation, and we drive the transformation, pushing many stakeholders within the healthcare system to make significant changes far faster than they would have done so before. So we're on a good track.
Okay, sounds pretty convincing. Is there anything which can be done better? Or also looking at Vienna, which is really the center of the industry in Austria, city and state, how does it work? Has it worked? Is there anything Vienna did particularly well?
So as well, a very important question. So Vienna has really many advantages. We saw already a little film. It is the only big city with 2 million inhabitants in Austria, and therefore the city has developed over years into the center of many branches and of the overall economy, including pharma industry, life science, biotech. There are also many universities, or most universities, non-university institutions, and one very special thing, they are highly interconnected. Another, let's say, maybe specific thing here in Austria, there is a great cooperation between the companies and politics. It's also an advantage, especially for settled, but as well for new companies, that this is possible to have close connection with politics. Additionally, and we all know this, but I always have to mention it, Vienna is located in the heart of Europe with perfect connections and therefore easy to reach. Last but not least, this was also the reason for companies that are already established in Austria to continue investing. I think this is also good to know that really a lot of companies count on this country. For example, Pfizer, Merck, Boehringer, Novartis, others invested over the last years more than 2.5 billion euro in local expansion. I think this is really a strong sign that these, let's say, big players really count on Austria and on Vienna. And regarding how Vienna reacted during the crisis, to give you a flavor about this as well. So that the government immediately, and we are all in a network, yeah, they immediately invited experts from all relevant industries to collaborate. I remember a lot of conversations and meetings with the subject, how can we handle supply, logistics, how can we drive information? For sure, they led the expertise to the experts, and so we could drive very successfully our, let's say, vaccination campaigns now. I remember a meeting I had today with the Minister of Economics and Digitalization. There are permanent questions. How can we support? What can we do? How can we support you? So today we have a great vaccination strategy in place, great vaccination centers and test concepts. Of course, everything doesn't goes always perfectly, but it works well. And as soon as we have enough vaccines, we will get out of the pandemic. I'm absolutely convinced, and hard lockdowns will hopefully be a thing of the past during the summer. Let me add one point, which is also very important. During pandemic, we went ahead with everything with our plans. So for example, there is a famous hospital concept 2030 in Vienna. And here is Vienna exemplarily with this, and we continued to implement this flagship project. What does it mean? There's the Vienna Hospital University, really super well known for oncology, for example. And this is in the center here in Vienna, and 8 hospitals with different specializations nearby. So Vienna is in an optimal way offering healthcare today and even better in the future. To summarize here, I really would like to say Vienna is in that way as well future-proof.
Yeah, super. And looking at the time, and I think you already made clear, how Pfizer benefits being integrated in such a great ecosystem. I'd like to say thank you for the moment, and please allow me also a personal comment. If you go to Vienna, you can really touch and feel these 3 billion which have been invested. If you look at the BioCity, for those of you in the US who know the Science Center in Philadelphia, the largest urban research campus in the United States, it's pretty similar. It has these dimensions. It has the density of hospitals, so it's a pretty exciting place for the industry. But you could say, well, a Pfizer, they can make any ecosystem work, right? And get great guys like Robin. So, but what about us, like young, small, starting, being innovative in life sciences? And that's something we also wanted to share with you, just one story of the hundreds Vienna has in this field, supported by Johannes, Karen, and the ecosystem. So I'm really happy to have Gloria with me, Dr. Gloria Esposito of Austrianni. Austrianni is a young company dedicated to develop therapeutics around tuberculosis, one of the oldest challenges or older challenges of mankind, and so an exciting task. I mean, Gloria, you have seen a lot of ecosystems. You're from Italy. You've done research in Germany. So now you are part of Austrianni in Vienna. So. How was it to start a company in Vienna, and how does it compare also to other places you know? Why Vienna?
First of all, I would like to thank for the opportunity to talk here and to share my experience with the audience. Well, I lived actually as an expat in 5 different countries between my academic and industry experience. And one remark I want to say is it takes always time to feel home. It was very fast in Vienna, and maybe I can elaborate later. I think it was a big surprise for me because I have been appointed to really start a company from the founder. He provided for the capital, and I had to put the company in place. Coming from another countries and so on. This has been an amazing experience because from day one, we just started to make contacts with the academic and the biotech community in Vienna. And Lisa Vienna being the first organization to come to the rescue, I have to say, we have been really accompanied. We had in the beginning the problem to find the space. And in this, the Wirtschaftsagentur and Lisa Vienna have been absolutely instrumental in establishing contacts, coming with us to explore the different possibilities and so on. From the point of view of funding a company, maybe in US the start it's easier, the incorporation. But I have to say that in Vienna we found also surprisingly, because I was coming also from a different German-speaking background, We have all documentations bilingual. The notaries, the legal counsel, our legal counsel is admitted to the Bar of New York, and there are law firms that can deal with the US laws, US type of company and Austrian companies here in Vienna. We had one contact brought to the other. And we have been able very soon to assemble the expertise we didn't have to find a space. And throughout this journey, I have to say the local organizations, so Wirtschaftsagentur, Lisa Vienna, and FFG that supported us with funding. So this is actually an amazing opportunity for companies. But we contacted the two main campus in Vienna, and we are at the moment at the VBC campus. And there, besides having a space, we had the possibility to use all of the infrastructure services that you, as a small company, starting with 3 people, you cannot even dream of. So this allowed us to reduce fixed costs while growing and having services started to perform on campus, then CROs and so on. We have been continuously reaching out of possibilities of collaborations from both the academia and the industry. I have to say that the academia in Vienna, especially in the 2 major campuses and in the hospitals, is very much used to spin off or to deal with biotech companies, so it's even less cumbersome to have agreements, and you may know how painful it is to protect IP and having collaborations with tech transfer offices. Here I found really a different type of environment. The tech transfer office has been fully aware of the fact you need to maintain IP if a service only is provided, or in the collaboration, which is the best way to allow the company to survive and have sharing with the collaborator. So I have to say it's been pretty much a unique experience. You have the hubs, you know, people may think of Munich or also in UK, there are many hubs, but they already established. We are growing here, and there is really the type of support you get is still really different. The country wants you, the city wants you, and as Robin said, is amazing how easy it is to approach government and directly bring your, you know, your questions. I have to say that it's been overall a very positive experience that I would actually invite companies to be part of Vienna and let it grow. We are also in a city that obviously doesn't need any advertisement, so it's very easy to attract talents. And it's very easy for expats to live in Vienna. I mean, again, I lived in 5 countries, and there may be barriers that I didn't feel here. I think it's a city, it's a multicultural city. You, as a biotech, you want to have a very diverse environment. So you need also an international pool of talents. Not only, we have the fantastic local talents, but the local talents are people that are getting their PhD also from many different countries and so on. So we try to keep the company very diverse, and this is really an amazing experience. Also, our Austrian employees have been traveling all over for science, so they come back and they have the right set of mind to be entrepreneurial. And also, I see in the universities that people are prepared to make the jump to biotech. It's not anymore the second choice because I cannot have become a professor. It's really what I want, and this is very important.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I also have to say this cosmopolitan nature, and maybe that's one difference to maybe other German-speaking countries which are a bit smaller and also in the region, that you don't have this competence between the locals and the international. It's really one family. So yeah, that's one thing I enjoy. Thanks, Gloria. I mean, you're making Karen's job difficult to promote Vienna even further. But
if you allow me, sorry to interrupt, this I really have to say. we had the business contacts with the Lisa Vienna and FFG, so we were dealing for space, for grants and so on, and help. But suddenly popped out people to reach out to me, our CSO, because we were expats, and they actually helped us to integrate in the social life in Vienna. But it was not just I give you the link, I tell you, it was really activities and trying to get, okay, which is your interest. And maybe sometimes this group of people may be interesting for you. And I mean, this is extremely helpful when you just arrive in a new country and you have the hard task to set up a company and to settle down.
Right. Thanks, Gloria. Moving to the US, getting in Michael in New York, who is working the two-way street, so guiding Austrian companies to the US and also, of course, support Austria as a destination and also Vienna. So, Michael, we have what we heard. We have a place which, compared to the US, is like a Boston, Philly, Johns Hopkins, a DC, Chicago, Houston, and Silicon Valley in one place where everybody can meet everybody within 30 minutes. Let's say 40 minutes, but that's max. How does this sell in the US? Is it known? How is actually the market perception?
I think it sells in the US, and if you think about what US life science companies, for instance, want at the moment, as a city, you shouldn't only think about what you want from them, but what do they want from you? And what they want from us now, I think, especially with COVID and the change in supply chains, yeah, that has changed. Let's say a couple of years or decades ago, when American companies were looking for investment opportunities, they were also looking to cut costs. They were investing in places like maybe China, Mexico, and that still happens. But with COVID, certain things changed, especially in the life science, sector. And that one is you don't want to lose your intellectual property. One, you want to have a trustworthy partner, and you don't want to have disruptions in your supply chain. So you've heard that the US has maybe started a bit of a reshoring campaign and bringing companies back, but they still want to invest abroad, but they look for very highly trusted partners. And I think Austria and Vienna is one of these highly trusted partners because of the history, but because also of the high R&D capacity that we have, because of the talent, and it's been mentioned before. And cost is not the only factor in making decisions for investing abroad at the moment. It's R&D, it's entering new markets, and the EU is the second most important market next to the US. It's knowing about the regulations, it's having the right platforms, it's having the right partners, and it's being able to acquire talent. And I think that, together with the trust perspective, has put Vienna on the map. Vienna is maybe not seen as the place for certain. Let's say you think about London as a financial hub, you think about Milan as a fashion hub, you think about Berlin as a startup hub. But with Vienna, you have to really look, you have to dig deeper and then see what is possible there. And I think this, combined with the new developments that happened because of COVID and the supply chains, has put Vienna on the map. And I think US life science companies are aware of that.
Thanks. Thanks, Michael. Back to Julia. You have an easy job. Perfect world, perfect place, happy people. But still support is needed, right? So what exactly is the daily work of the commercial service looking like for life science companies? What are you offering? Who should check in with you? For what from our audience when they want to learn more about the opportunity of the market and access Europe through Vienna?
Certainly. And I would definitely highlight what you just said. And the reason most of us at the embassy got this assignment is because we were in those other markets for a while. So it is a wonderfully easy place to do business. And I think for American companies, it's really important wherever you go in the world. You may be looking at the first time expansion to Europe. You may be well established in multiple international markets, but always important to stop by the U.S. Embassy, U.S. Commercial Service. We also have offices in your own towns. And so the Commerce Department offices in, whether you're in Boston or whether you're in a smaller city, we have a commerce office nearby. And we're really looking after US business. And so we partner with all of these great collaborators you're hearing on this call, both here in Austria and around the world. But we're really a good, I'd say, first kind of stop to get a lay of the land. We provide a tremendous amount of market advising, often before you get to the country, and often before you even narrow down what countries you're focusing on. And so I think the advising both at a country level, at a regional level, we have a robust office in the EU. Of course, when you look at the European countries, a lot of the regulatory framework and policies and procedures are EU-wide. And so that's a consideration. We have patent trademark experts from USPTO there, as well as those looking at EU policy considerations in a wide range of issues from regulatory to registration. So again, a lot of information we can provide, but we also know every company is different. All of your goals are different. So our responses to you and our support for you will be very individualized. You may be looking for a first-time market entry, looking for a distribution partner to test the market before you decide if you want to establish. And that's a very key part of what we do in terms of supporting U.S. exports to a market like Austria. And when you are ready to set up shop in a country like Austria, in a city like Vienna, you have these great collaborators who this is their core business, like the Vienna Business Agency. And so we make sure you obviously know them now, but in another country, you may not know who all those collaborators are and all those great resources. So we'll point you in those directions. And then the last thing I'd say is once an American company is established in Austria, in Vienna, we work very closely with them, whether it's through an American Chamber of Commerce, active, our expert for life sciences, Martha Haustang, I mentioned earlier, is very active with PharmEg, the Pharmaceutical Association that Robin leads. And we help you gain visibility. You can leverage the US government resources through the US Embassy, whether it's stakeholder events, meetings, product launches. We're really designed the event or program or service or advising to really what your business goals are as a US company, which is our mandate. So thanks for asking the question, Stefan. We hope to hearing from some of you as you set forth on this path.
And maybe even adding one point, we're all part of the family. It's actually true that, I mean, Julia, Martha and your team, Karen, Michael, Johannes, we all really know each other, know how to find each other. And Vienna is one of the rare places in the world where all these institutions are not competing. I think that is really, really important. But I swear, when Robin needs data on Vienna, Michael, Karen, when I want to look something up, we always end up with one publication, the Vienna Life Science report, with one institution. Johannes is leading the Life Science Agency because they have the data, they have the companies, they do a great report, they know. We always have, Johannes, do we have this? Who is doing that? And this is really Johannes' jobs. And so he's the man for us to go a little bit more into details. It's also, I mean, ideal ecosystem. Gloria said how great it is to start, how positive the perception of biotechs is, but it's also about funding. It's also about economics. What is possible in Vienna there, and what can the Life Science Agency do to help companies to access that? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan, for having me today. We at LISA Vienna really try to offer 360-degree support for all the stakeholders, be it academia, startups, scale-ups, large corporation, to really not only support them financially, but leverage every euro we put into these companies to help them grow their network, finding lab space, as Gloria, for example, pointed out, or finding qualified employees, or of course identify private investors in a later stage. So all the funding instruments are structured according to the development stage of the company and also according to the value chains. So we really look at specialized programs for the life sciences industry, and we have two large agencies at the national level, AWS, Austria Wirtschaftsservice, and FFG, Forschungsförderungsgesellschaft or Research Promotion Agency, and they both offer a variety of tailored financial products for life science companies along the value chain. So, of course, without the academia and without inventions at the academic level, we would probably go nowhere. So it's very important to support the basic research and even more so the translation of the basic research into commercially viable products. So we have invested as Austria Wirtschaftsservice into a translational research center. It's called the CAN1 Fund, which is also supported by the European Investment Fund and the Max Planck Förderstiftung in Germany. So it's a pan-European approach. It's an overall 60 million euro fund that supports scientific projects financially to develop into early stage preclinical products. So this is really a success because more than 17 universities and non-university academic institutions here in Austria have joined forces to create under an umbrella called Wings for Innovation, a platform where these projects at an early stage can be financed and then transformed into both companies or licensable products. So this is the very early stage. Then, of course, we address entrepreneurs with AWS pre-seed or AWS seed financing. These are early stage funding programs of 200,000 and 800,000 euro respectively. So you can raise 1 million euro in an early stage to do your early preclinical trials, or in respect to medical device companies to prepare your CE certificate, or even go to FDA certification. And this is really to help them bridging the gap. And these company financing products, seed and pre-seed, are complemented by the financing, R&D financing products by FFG. There you can raise up to 3 million euro in money. So in essence, you can have up to 5 to 10 million euro in public funding, because there's also the Vienna Business Agency, which has been mentioned already, the regional agency of the city of Vienna. They have every year very exciting life science related calls where companies can apply to. Especially for American companies, it's of interest that when you're based here in Vienna, you can also tap into the European Union programs. The new Horizon Europe program is a multi-billion euro program which offers a lot of possibilities, not funding your own projects, but also enter into collaboration across the European Union. So this just in a nutshell regarding the financial instruments we have here. It may be a little bit overwhelming at first sight, but please contact us here at LISA Vienna. We have individual appointments with everybody. We like to discuss your business case and provide you with individual advice on anything you need, whether it be funding, lab space, networking, contact with academia, or perhaps with experienced entrepreneurs like Gloria, which you can contact.
Thanks, Johannes. And I thank you also for mentioning the European aspect, because these are the programs which you can no longer really tap into being in Cambridge or Oxford in the UK. So that's also a reason why Vienna could be a second hub for you in the European Union. What's the top seller, Johannes? What is the most popular program to start with?
I guess for early stage companies, it's really the seed financing pre-seed program, where you can finance your prototype or your early stage preclinical trial with a non-dilutable product, Pre-seed, you don't even have to repay. It's really lost money from our perspective, but it's really money that you can invest into starting and trying out things, because it's really important that we give the liberty and provide the liberty to try out new ideas. And seed financing is also a grant that you only have to repay once you make profits or if you have an exit. If you are not successful, then you are not being punished. And that's a very important message from our side. We want serial entrepreneurs, and we highly respect entrepreneurs that have also had the courage to have a failure and then restart with a new startup. And we have a couple of successful companies that are maybe the third trial of entrepreneurs, and then they have built up a big new company. So we really want to support this type of entrepreneurship, risk-taking, and well-planned and collaborative entrepreneurs who engage in R&D together. And just one last thing is, of course, the research premium, because not everybody is a startup. The 14% research premium tax credit that Austria grants is highly attractive compared to other countries, at least within Europe.
Yeah, it's a cashback on research, and actually 4 of the 5 largest beneficiaries of the research credit are not Austrian companies. And Boehringer
yes,
is one
it's
of them.
granted for everybody who is doing research and development here in Austria. You're welcome.
But, you know, if you go one step back from the details, and I know you're pretty proud of your ecosystem, if you would have to say in 1 or 2 sentences what makes Vienna special?
I guess it's really the sense of community that Robin already pointed out. We felt it already before COVID, but it was really in the focus when the pandemic started in February last year. We saw everybody in the life science community step out and offer solutions to combat this pandemic. This starts from academia, who provided new approaches to do testing, for example. These are startups who are now running successful vaccine and medication programs, and of course also all types of diagnostics and apps that help you being aware of the pandemic. So this sense of community you can really feel in Vienna. It's more a collaborative environment than a competitive environment. And I think everybody, especially in the early stage, as Gloria pointed out, appreciates this environment that people help each other out instead of keeping their information to themselves. And we really want to help grow this network. And unfortunately, we cannot be present at Bio this year, which is really a great trade fair in the US every year. But there you can really get a feel and get a sense of this community at our booth, where everybody meets together and exchange information, and helps also, for example, make contact to American business partners, because there's many startups also doing business in the US. Some of them are listed at NASDAQ, and the US market is really attractive. So we really want to continue foster the links between those two communities.
Yeah. Thanks. I just had the thought that maybe it's also different to when you are in one of the big markets like France, UK, Germany. You're also competing in that market and at the same time doing your research. But in Vienna, it's pretty clear you ultimately make the money outside Austria, outside Vienna. So that's maybe what also fosters this community. Julia, Europe was mentioned. If we look at the world, I mean, obviously the life science industry seems to be a winner these days. It's an industry which is basically supporting mankind in these days. So. But on the other hand, we have a lot of challenges for the practice of business development, the lack of travel. Brexit, I mean, has really changed the world, because the UK was the entry door to Europe for most of American life science. COVID obviously is slowly going away. I mean, and American companies listening have maybe now this too good to be true feeling listening to us from the beginning. But I mean, is really Vienna a place where actually they should stop these days to support the business? Also looking at the challenges to find this solid community base. Is what Johannes said, is that something you can confirm from an American perspective?
Sure. I think you've touched on a couple of topics in your point, and we absolutely are going through changes and challenges that most of us have never experienced in our lives, and very difficult to chart a path forward, but also, of course, opening great opportunities. So it's super that all of you are on this call today to learn about some of those. I think in terms of some of the pandemic environment, we at the U.S. Commercial Service in supporting American companies have had to significantly pivot how we support American companies. You mentioned our great biotech trade show in the United States, where we certainly have very important platforms for life sciences in Europe throughout the year. And we've had to shift all of these virtual. Companies have seen the benefits and productivity of some of that initial virtual connection, but at some point there is always an essential need to get on the ground and kind of kick the tires and meet people face to face when you get down to negotiations. So I think in terms of the pandemic business model disruptor, coming back just from a month in the US, we're really starting to hear about what the workplace and what the business strategy workplace will look like ahead. I think we're a little bit, in a month or so, we'll start hearing more about that here in Europe. But everyone we speak with and everyone we're engaging with really believes that we'll be able to pair some of the lessons learned in working productively remotely, including in international business. And those of you with American companies trying to expand internationally know that the cost and time of doing that is significant. So lessons learned and how to be more productive in that space certainly can be brought forward into the future. And I think, Stephanie, you also talked about the dynamics within Europe that are changing and where Austria fits into that. When we talk about the dynamics of Europe, we're not just talking about a pandemic, but we're talking about the UK-EU new trade cooperation agreement. And you're very right. Many American companies in all industries have traditionally used the UK as a first stop in Europe. In life sciences, in all sectors, but particularly in life sciences, where the regulatory and certification requirements have now been split between the EU and UK, that makes it even more important for US life sciences companies to think beyond the UK and find a home in mainland Europe, within the EU. And I think you've heard from all of us on the call what a warm and welcoming ecosystem exists here in Austria, here in Vienna. It's important to do your homework. And again, we can introduce you to those key folks at the EU level. You've already met most of us here in Austria, and we look forward to sharing with you all of the information you really need to make the best decision for your company at whatever juncture you are in terms of your business development, be that introducing a product for test marketing, all the way to conducting R&D and setting up shop. So we look forward again to welcoming you into Vienna as you continue that path forward.
I would say also looking at the time and respecting that we want to stay in the time limits. Thank you, Julia, at this stage. Michael, easy sell, difficult sell, great sell. What's your job looking like these days? Again, guiding life science to Austria and in particular to Vienna.
I think it's not such a difficult sell, and I've been living in the US now for combined 10 years, and I remember at the beginning, yes, there were always these jokes that people confuse Austria with Australia. That doesn't happen anymore. Most Americans really know where Austria is. They know where Vienna is. They're aware of it. But one thing that still happens is that you know, when you think of Vienna, you think of Vienna as the capital of culture, as the capital of art, as the capital of music and food. It's the sound of music, and we have to present it as a place of sound technology and sound innovation. And a lot of the Americans love best practice stories and good success stories. And sometimes they don't care if they come from Vancouver or Vilnius or Vienna, but they want a good success story because they share it, and they're open to really explaining to each other the failures and the successes. And I think we have a lot of success stories to tell from Vienna, especially now with the new administration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who have introduced, you know, a 2 trillion actually infrastructure bill, you know, a lot of incentives to create new infrastructure projects, to create energy efficiency, to really work on education, and also to work on health, you know, and really promoting health. And I think Vienna has really good stories to tell on all these sectors. If we talk about the infrastructure, I mean, like public transport, social housing, etc., etc. When we talk about energy, we talk about recycling, we talk about waste management, insulation of houses, green buildings. That goes very well. When we talk about education, the whole dual education program, the cooperation between R&D organizations and public services, and public funding, that goes very well. And when we talk about health and life science, let's not forget that the US is spending nearly double the amount of money compared to GDP on health than Austria is, 18% compared to a little bit more than 10% of GDP. Right. And yes, some of the health is very good for maybe some of the privileged people, but you will hear that not all of the health services are highly efficient and might be too expensive, and insurance problems, etc., etc. And Vienna has a lot of solutions to offer in that particular you know, sector with e-health, preventive medicine, etc., etc. So yeah. I think it's not a difficult sell. We just have to know how to sell it.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you also for reminding us of the two-way street. With actually great discussion, but you know, too little time left. I want to take it to Karen, who is actually your point person for the first steps into Vienna. She is in the Vienna Business Agency regional manager for the US and also for Canada. She has put all this together. So I think we all owe her a great and big thank you for this. But Karen, actually, even throughout the pandemic, companies kept locating in Vienna. So how did that work, and why did they come even in that times? And looking at the time, I think you should also stress what's the VBA's role in this process. No, you're muted. The one favorite sentence.
Sorry.
There you go.
So sorry, I actually thought that I was already unmuted. Yeah. So thank you, Stefan, for the introduction. I hope that I can give you some more information about Vienna and Austria that you haven't come across yet. So Austria is amongst the richest countries in the European Union. So we are the fourth richest market in the EU. We have a very stable economy, steady political and legislative system. And one thing that actually makes us so special, I think, is the fact that we are in the heart of Europe and the kind of bridge. We have a bridging function between Central Eastern Europe and Western Europe. And quite often companies use us as their springboard, either to the west or to the east. And Austria has often been used as a kind of test market, especially when German companies or when companies would like to access the German market. So you all know that Germany is a very big economy, and whenever companies would like to test a market, they decide to go for Austria because it is a pretty, you know, decent market, and you can easily access then Germany. However, there are many well-known enterprises that use Vienna as their Central Eastern European headquarters. So just to give you some ideas, so let's take a South Korean company, Samsung. We have all heard about them. You have the German detergent company Henkel, or you even have South African company Mondi Packaging. So they all operate out of Vienna. Moreover, we have a GDP that is quite remarkable. So we are at, a gross domestic product per capita, we are at 55K approximately, which is quite amazing. And we are one of the fastest growing cities in Europe. So we have already heard from several speakers here that Vienna is decent. We have 2 million inhabitants, and we are ranked as a smart city, which makes it as well quite interesting. And we are cosmopolitan too. And you have to think about the fact, which is probably quite interesting, that around 30% of the Viennese population are born outside of Austria, which makes it quite usual that people actually grow up speaking not only German fluently, but another mother tongue. Moreover, there is the United Nations headquarters, which is the only headquarters within the European Union, and Vienna is home to more than 37 international organizations. Michael has already talked about infrastructure, which is quite amazing. So just to give you an idea, we have a public transport system of approximately 1,800 kilometers. And to use it, it costs you €1 a day. So that means an annual pass is 365 euros. We have talked as well about talents. So lots of my other dear speakers have already mentioned that talents are very important. To give you an idea about that, Austria, or Vienna to be very precise, has approximately 192,000 students, which are approximately 10% of its population. And there are 10 public universities, we have 6 private universities, 5 universities of applied sciences, with over 50 English postgraduate programs. And we have lots of institutions, some of them being world famous. So for example, there is the Institute of Molecular Biotechnology, the IMBA, that has been headed by Professor Penninger, who is probably known, and they attract lots of people from around the world to come to Vienna and to do their research here. And that, of course, makes it quite easy to fish in the pond for talent and to get interesting people on board.
Wonderful. I mean, again, looking at the time, just a technical remark for those of you who have chatted in questions. We're going to deal with them maybe even a little bit longer than 6:30, but the real content for those of you who exactly booked the 1 hour will be done in 3 minutes. So we'll keep it exactly in time. I mean, Karen, from an American perspective, and Americans are born networkers. That's what the business is about. They understand Robin has the great pharma network. Julia has the commercial service. Johannes has the data and helps with incentives. Michael is great to network with. Gloria will, of course, share her experience with other biotech startups and is representing, but that might be a bit exhausting to try to get in touch with all 5 and keep the balls in the air. So that's your role, right? I mean,
totally. Yeah. Thanks, Stefan, for elaborating on that. So actually, the Vienna Business Agency's primary goal is to help US companies and Canadian companies to set their foot into the Viennese market. We are here to connect you with tax experts, with lawyers, but as well to connect you with authorities and information of the industry and public bodies. We do not only offer our kind of consulting service, we have as well large funding programs that Johannes has already mentioned that are quite interesting. We have industry reports that we offer that have quite some interesting information. And of course, Johannes has already mentioned the life science report, which is in this respect very, very important. However, there's so much more. So once you are in the funding process, you might be thinking about getting your staff over to Vienna, to Austria. And then there are the personal questions. And we have a dedicated team of colleagues who deal exactly with these questions. So there is no wrong question. We can actually try to answer any question starting at A for automotive, how do I import my car, till Z, such as zoology. meaning how can I import my iguana, for instance? Yeah, so we really had this question already. And we hope that we can assist with, there is no wrong question, and we hope that we can assist with everything that you might need. Be it, I need to get a visa, I need to find a relocation agency, I need to find a school for my daughter, for my son, an international doctor, and probably something that I haven't mentioned earlier. So there is not only an excellent public transport system, but we have as well a quite good public school system, which is, if you should be interested in public schooling, totally free of charge. And in addition to that, we have to mention as well that there was just recently a study, and this could be as well probably interesting in a kind of healthcare perspective. We have a hospital which is called the AKH, the General Hospital, Vienna's General Hospital, and there has been a ranking by Newsweek, and we are amongst the top 200 best hospitals in the world, and the AKH has ranked at number 27. That's all that I just wanted to say.
So yeah, thank you, Karen. As I said, we will just find out if there were questions chatted in, we'll answer them. I also want to mention that Karen is, of course, your first stop, but it's also me and my colleague, Linda Asano, acting out of Philadelphia. Many of them will have been in touch with Linda en route to this event today. We are also there in the United States, in North America, to ease the contact to Karen and her colleagues. So perfect service, great place. So we hope to see you soon in Vienna. And now, I don't know, do we have questions? Anything specific else? I'm not aware of questions at the moment, but Karen, do you have anything? No. Okay. So maybe we were just, I mean, with this panel, with this group of experts, how can you get questions? I would like to say thank you to Robin, representing like the I wouldn't say established, dynamic, but also established pharma and life science industry in Vienna. Gloria, for really bringing us all the spirit of a biotech.
Thank you.
Really going out for great solutions for the world, actually, out of Vienna, and of course the economic development and support experts, Julia, Michael, Johannes, Karen, and I also like to say again thank you to Linda for getting you all on board here. And with that, I can only encourage you, get in touch with Karen, get in touch with the VBA, get in touch with us, and we are all here to guide you and tell you more about Vienna. And there is still more to be told, I can guarantee. Thank you, everybody, and wishing everybody a great day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.